When you're in the zone, time doesn't slow down. Time becomes irrelevant. What's going on, guys? This is Mighty Q's Locker. I am Mighty Q, and today I am talking about how to get into the zone. It is a method of trying to get ultra focused, which so many people try to talk about using anger and seeing red and, oh, I get so mad, especially, in the wrestling community, in the wrestling world. A lot of people talk about, I just get, nice and real mad and I go out there and I just get really angry. That's not getting in the zone. That's not getting anywhere close to the zone. That's taking you further away from the zone. This is something that I've found through my different journey, through all the different sports that I've done, mostly with wrestling, but it has carried over with all of the other sports that I do and all of the other things that I'm doing in my life as well. It is a way of getting ultra focused, and I'm going to try to discuss that of what I found worked for me. So, how to get in the zone? It is something that gets talked about on, the sports networks of, oh, that player was in the zone. He had a great night. He scored X amount of points. He did Y amount of things. He just had it that night because he was locked in and he was in the zone. But no one really ever talks about what the zone is or how to get in the zone or how to stay in the zone or what the zone feels like, or more importantly, how much better you can be in the zone versus when you're not in the zone, and how to unlock that ability all the time. So for me, the thing is I used to believe in that anger conspiracy of, oh, being angry makes you feel a certain way, and when you're angry you're stronger and you use aggression and you've got all this other things going for you. Anger can be a very good tool. But the issue with anger is it turns on certain things, but to flip those switches, it has to turn other things off. And the things that it's turning off end up being detrimental when there's certain high pressure situations. It doesn't work all the time. It's not a fine line. You want to be more even keeled rather than when you start flipping a bunch of other switches to try to get an added advantage in one area, you start to, gain a greater disadvantage in a separate area, and someone is able to take advantage of that and can exploit that weakness. So you want to be as even keeled as possible because it's all about balance. There's the positive and the negative. And so if you're trying to gain more of the positive, you have to know what the negative counteraction of that is. If you're a very aggressive and on the offense attacking style wrestler, then for you, what ends up happening is you're really in the positive on offense and you're really, really good with offense. But a very large issue is if someone stops your offense and forces you on the defense, and you don't normally wrestle that style, and it's something that's very foreign to you, you are then put into a world where you're lost, you don't know what's going on, and you're immediately uncomfortable. When it comes to when it comes to getting in the zone versus being angry and maintaining that balance, the easiest way to do it is being present. And a lot of people use this term and they say, oh yeah, just be present, be present. The issue with it is you have a lot of thoughts that rush into your head the minute you stop doing anything. If you take the next 10 seconds, we're not going to do anything. I'm not going to speak. Sit and do nothing. This isn't going to work if you're driving, but sit for 10 seconds and do absolutely nothing. Sit still. How long did that feel? That was 10 seconds in silence, doing nothing. Did it feel like a really long time? Or did it feel like a quick blink? For some, that felt like a really, really, really long time. It felt like they were sitting there and they had 4,000 thoughts come across their mind, and it felt like they were sitting there for what felt like hours. To others, that 10 seconds felt like they had just enough time to blink. So what's this difference? And how is that a difference when it comes to being in the zone? Sports rely on focus. Steph Curry is able to be a great three-point shooter because of his focus that comes with his pre-shot routine. That's the exact same every time. His technique is the exact same every single time. His release in that short little time span of the time when he gets up to the top of his jump shot and it's the flick of the wrist and the release is the exact same every single time. It's the same with the golfer. That last little 6 inches behind the ball and 6 inches in front of the ball worth of swing is the exact same every single time, and that's the reason why they're able to be on tour and doing what they're doing. There's a 1 foot window, and that is the only part of the golf swing that matters. And because they've spent thousands upon thousands of golf balls and just hours hitting these same shots, both for Steph on the court and for golfers out on the range, and doing it over and over in repetition and repetition, there is a certain aspect of the technique that after enough repetitions, when you do it in the same manner over and over and over, it's the same with walking. The reason you can walk and talk and chew gum and breathe and do all these other things all at the same time is because one becomes unconscious. Once you're able to do something unconsciously and you're not actively thinking about it, aka you're walking down the street, and most of us now, we're walking, we're texting. Now, this is a very distracting thing and a lot of people need to stop doing it. But to some, you're able to walk down the street, you can have a phone conversation, you can be texting and talking to somebody, and you can be hailing for a cab or getting into an Uber or doing whatever you're doing. But the reason all of that happens is you've walked the majority of your entire life, depending on when you first got started walking. You're good at it now. It's not something you think about. You don't go left foot, left step, right step. When something happens, that's what it leads to. But when it becomes unconscious and you don't think about it, if I asked you, hey, how do you walk? What are the things that you need to do to walk? You'd have to kind of sit there for a second. You'd be like, oh, well, and you can give me an answer, and it's going to be, some form of, well, I put my left foot in front of my right, one after the other. Well, do you lift your knee, or do you try to drive your toe forward? Do you point your toe? Do you lift your toe? Do you have your heel come up further, or do you just kind of leave it flat? And so all these little things and little tweaks are all little things that you do all the time and you don't think about. So if you can have enough repetitions to the degree that anything you do is relatively unconscious, then when it comes time for you to do whatever that motion is or whatever that action is, it's going to be second nature. And when it's second nature to you, the way to continue to lock it in and continue rocking and rolling is you know it's done the same way every single time because there's a muscle memory that goes with it. And that muscle memory that goes with it is like a trigger where it opens up a file and it reads out a description of, okay, you're going to go left foot, then right foot, then left hand, then right hand, then left. That's how it reads. If it was written in code, there would be a description of what is happening. So the more sequences you can download and have that your brain does automatically, the easier it is to do the little fundamentals right, because that then opens up your creativity. That's a lot of the reasons why everyone can immediately look at Michael Jordan and go, wow, how is he able to be creative in all these different situations? Or wow, how is he able to do all these different things? And it's like, well, it started with the fundamentals that he did so many times that it was unconscious. He didn't have to think about it. So when it came time to tweak it slightly, it was super easy for him, and he went ahead and did it. The same way Steph Curry can do all of his crazy shots that he does is because it's the same thing when it comes time to the release. The technique is the same. All of the fundamentals are the same. The little small antics that are just leading up in front of whatever it may be, that can change. But the one thing that matters, the release and the spin and the direction, that's the same every single time. And so once it becomes unconscious, is after enough reps, it opens the creativity. Your brain is able to do a lot of these things without you having to actually think about it, because if you have to actually think about it, that's too slow. And when you're thinking, this is where the being in the zone is all accredited and where everything ties together because of this one statement. Don't think. It was said in Top Gun, don't think. If you think up there, you're dead. And that is exactly the same for anything that you do. Don't think. You have the instincts. You've done it enough times. Let your body move and go in the ways that it's going to move. Don't try to think the situation out. If you're going to think the situation out, you're too slow. You're not going to get there in time. Your brain thinks things really, really fast. But it's not as fast as it doing it automatically. Turn on the stove and go and just stick your hand on there. I guarantee you will pull your hand away before you're able to go, that's really hot. Move, hand. It doesn't work like that. The point is, your body has a quicker reaction than your mind being able to process it. Think, wow, that's really hot. I should move my hand off the stove. That is not thinking. And once you stop thinking, you're allowed to be present. Stop thinking, be present, and do the one thing that you're doing. This unlocked for me yesterday with being in the zone comes to, yes, we can do a lot of different things. Like I talked about with the walking. You can walk, you can talk, you can chew gum, you can text somebody, you can be on the phone, you can do all these things, you can multitask. But if you want to get in the zone Stop what you're doing, stop thinking, and do one thing. That was the thing that I finally understood when they talk about meditation and the monks, when they talk about breathing. The reason they unlock these great forms of channeling and focus isn't from the breathing. It's because they're focused solely, intently on the breathing, which gives them the control. If the only thing that you are doing is thinking about inflating your lungs and deflating your lungs on a certain cadence and rhythm, and that's the only thing you focused on, you didn't care about how long you were doing it, you were sitting there and doing it for as long as you can do it, and that's all you're doing. In for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you just sat there and breathed in 4 and exhaled on 4, and all you did was count to 4 over and over and over and over, and that was your sole focus, was just focusing on breathing in for 4 and out for 4. Breathing in for 4 and out for 4. And just keep doing it. And keep doing it. And don't think about anything else. Just keep thinking about the breathing. The only thing that you can think about is just the in for 4 and out for 4. You will get this level of clarity, and you'll instantly start to feel it, where you'll feel something change in everything around you, where it's not that it all disappears, but it's everything else doesn't matter. Creed 3 showed this pretty well with the last fight scene, so spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen it. But the way that they shot it was they took all of the crowd out for a couple of the shots. And it was just the boxers in the ring. That was it. And it was empty. And it was just the two of them. And that's all it was. And it was just back and forth. Just the two of them. Soul focused. Right there. Nothing else. No camera flashes. No people clapping, shouting, doing whatever. Nothing. It was just the two of them in the ring, slugging it out. And that is what being focused, and that is what being in the zone is. You flip all the switches off to all the things that don't matter. Because when you turn things off, the balance means you're able to give more focus in a certain area. So the way I can describe this is, it's kind of like a flashlight in a room. If you're standing in your house and all the lights in your house are on and you're holding a flashlight, the flashlight isn't very bright. If you start flipping the switches to your house and turning those other lights off, the flashlight that you have suddenly starts to get brighter. And why does it get brighter? It's not that it's emitting any more powerful of a light beam. It's that you're now able to see it channeled to you. You're now able to see that beam of light that's no longer getting mixed with the rest of the beams of light. So, if you had to take this and put this to a sports reasoning, if you were playing a game of football and you flipped off every other switch besides, I'm going to get the quarterback, and I'm focused on the quarterback, and you're focused on the football, and the ball moves, and your intention is to go get the ball and go get the quarterback. And that is your sole focus. You have nothing else in your head. You have no other chatter. There's nothing else. The only thing that's out there is that football, you, and the quarterback that's going to catch it. You don't see the linemen. You don't see any of the running backs. You don't see the fans. You don't see the sideline. You don't see the goalpost. You don't see any of that. The ultimate focus, the ultimate being in the zone, is a lack of any thought but the one thing that you want. So when you want to tap in and get into the zone, figure out the one thing that you want and focus all your energy in on that and flip all the switches to off on everything else. Alright guys, that's it from me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, because I surely enjoyed finding out this answer. And finding this out, I hope you guys are able to see and use this for yourself, because I wish I would have known sooner. If you've enjoyed this show, all I ask is that you share the show with a friend. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Mighty Q, out.